Okay, so anyway, here's been going through a lot of scopes. I just burnt out another scope, but here's a scope I got a while back, and I haven't been using it on my more dangerous stuff. I like it pretty well. I was just some of the other scopes you're not able to transfer data off. See, this one I have it hooked up to a USB port here, and let's take a look. That's my Linux machine, and here you can save. Here's the folder of this guy. I just have it hooked up to, it's the mini USB, it's not the micro one. I'll show you that in a second. And here we can save the data as comma separated variables, or you can save it as a data that the machine understands, or you can save bitmaps. Here's a bitmap, so that's nice. You can save different parameters and such. So anyway, you can download these to your computer and work with the data. And I believe this scope claims that it has 8 megahertz. I'm not even sure if they make this anymore. This is the DS203, I believe. See, it says right there, DS203. And digital storage scope, mini DS203. I think they have ones that have better bandwidth now. They might cost more. And it has these normal scope probes, or you can take off the top and probe things like that. There. It's actually a pretty nice scope. The only thing I don't like about it, I'll do a little bandwidth test actually, because I think it's got pretty good bandwidth. But it's a little bit difficult to work with. You have these buttons on the top, and it took me a while to figure this out. There's little slider buttons. You can slide them left or right, but in order to get the functionality, you have to push down on them too also. So there's left and right. Well, let me give you an example. So see how that's blinking there? So I slide this one left or right, and that changes the millivolts per division. Okay, and that it's got 4 channels also. And so this slider over here, when you slide that left or right, changes where the cursor is. And then if you want to, let's say for instance I push this stop button here. There's some buttons up here. I push the stop button, and okay, I slide this cursor up and down, and it goes through the different this is how you save the data, for instance. So it's got save CSV1. So I have to go over to this slider thing up here, and I have to push down on it with my fingernail. And when I do that, see, it starts saving at the bottom. And that's how you do the save. And anyway, the on and off switch is on the bottom. Yeah, this is it right there. It's on the bottom side. Everything is, it's just with these slider things, it just makes it a little bit difficult to work with it, but it's very lightweight. It's got good display. It can do 4 channels. I think only 2 of them are analog, and two of them can be digital. It's got these weird little plugs here, so you need special scope plugs. It's like a little coax. And there's the A and B on this side, and the C and D is digital on the other side. And like I said, we'll unplug this, and that is the mini type USB that is required, where a lot of the new electronics have this micro type USB. Let's just show the difference between the mini and the micro. If I can get these here together. So the micro is thinner than the mini. The mini is a thicker version there. And of course that would plug into the side here, and those are digital. I never really use the digital and digital inputs. And it can also generate sine wave and square wave and other things. It's got a signal generator. You can change the frequency, but you have to go through these little menus up here to get to that. See if we can. Okay, so see, it's on sine right now, and see if we can see it's triangle wave, square wave, sine wave, and you can, well, let's see, we can get it over to, oh, I guess it's not going to go over there. You can change the frequency also in the duty. Let's see if we can figure out how to do that. Okay, so I pressed down on this button and it switched from triangle to frequency, and so it looks like I'm able to do 10 kilohertz, 5, 2, 1, 500 hertz. So it just kind of goes in jumps there. And if I press down on that, it goes to duty over here. So that took me a long time to figure out that you got to press down on these slider things at the top. See that? You can slide it left, slide it right, and you can also press down on them to accept things. So when you press, I usually have to get my fingernail on that. So then it goes back to triangle wave. So see how I keep on pressing down on that, it shifts through those, and then I slide it back and forth and it changes the selection. And of course this one scrolls it back over into the other. This is channel 2, and you got to push this little button on the top, and you can change it up to the top, so you can change the AC coupling by sliding it back and forth, or you can turn it off. If I'm not using that channel, I like to turn it off. So anyway, it's nice, small, handy, compact scope, and well, those are some of the features. Oh yeah, there's features on this side too over here. Let's see if I can remember how to get to those. It's trigger and the voltage levels and other things. So that's the one thing that, okay, might be the triangle. Yeah, okay, so you hit the little triangle button up there and it switches from the top menu over here to the side menu over here. And then you can go through it again with these little slider things. Change the trigger threshold, for instance. I think you gotta press down on one of these to get the menu up. Let's see. Okay. So every time I use this, I have to relearn how to use it, because okay, there's a trigger threshold, and so I can use a slider up here to back and forth. After I have to press down on it to select it, and then I can slide it back and forth like that, and that changes the trigger threshold. And you can do the same thing with, see, I use this other slider, go down to the voltage, and then you can change voltage levels. So you can change the time scale by going down there, and so on and so forth. It's stopped right now, so I'm not able to change that type of stuff here. But anyway, those are some of the options, and it is a nice little scope. I haven't burnt this one out yet, fortunately. That's what the top looks like. It's got some buttons and slider things. Anyway, let's do a bandwidth test, and we'll just test this out. I think the newer ones have a larger bandwidth. They might cost a little bit more. I forget what this one cost, but I'm pretty happy with it. The one thing I'll say is that sometimes I like to do very sensitive stuff, and a lot of these handheld scopes don't have the dynamic range that the bigger, more expensive scopes have. Like, they can't go down to the low levels, and I think this is the case with this one also. But it's got a nice display. You can save the data and read it out on your computer. It's not too bad. Okay. Okay, so let's test the bandwidth of this scope. I have it hooked up to my BK Precision signal generator, and I have it set to about, it's about 10 kilohertz right now. I believe the bandwidth of this guy is about 8 megahertz. I'll try turning up the frequency. Okay. And I'm going to put it on the 1 megahertz scale, and that starts out at 100 kilohertz. And let me, again, remember you got to use these little things at the top to slide back and forth to change the divisions. And so this is on 20 nanoseconds. and I'll increase that. So we're at 100 kilohertz, and there's 1 megahertz. Okay, so the square tops are starting to get a little bit rounded off. Okay, I'm going to switch this to the 10 megahertz scale, and I'm going to bring it down to the low setting, which is about a megahertz, a little bit less than a megahertz. Okay, and so we'll bring it up slowly to, there's 3 megahertz right there. Let's increase the scale. Okay, so it's starting to look a little bit less like a square wave. Okay, 3 megahertz. It's 6 megahertz. Okay, it's starting to look like a sine wave now. 7. There's 8 megahertz. It looks like a complete sine wave. And we're at 10. And so I would say it probably has pretty much the full bandwidth. I'm not really seeing a drop in the amplitude over that whole range. It's just, you need a lot higher frequencies to resolve the square wave, assuming that our BK Precision is actually putting out a square wave, which I think it is, putting up a good square wave up to 10 megahertz. And so I would definitely have to say that the scope has the bandwidth that they're claiming. It's a pretty nice little scope, other than it's a little bit annoying to, you gotta remember move these little slider things on the top back and forth, and then you can press them in also. So anyway, hopefully this gives you a little idea of how this scope works. I use it quite a bit. It's one of the scopes I haven't burnt out yet. Anyway, this is Dr. Janes, and thanks for watching.